This program is brought to you by freekeen.com.
Who are you calling a thug?
Well, anybody who's putting another man in chains or shackles. That's what I call a thug. What do you call a thug?
I'm looking at
Ron?
Oh, really?
Ron? It's Ron.
Who am I hurting?
Who are you hurting?
Am I hurting anyone
Who
by
do we
standing
hurt?
here? Did I hurt your feelings maybe by saying the word thug?
Verbal sparring between New Hampshire liberty activists and court security officers. It was triggered by the arrest of this man, Sam Dodson, arrested for attempting to videotape in Keene, New Hampshire District Court's lobby. Now jailed for over 3 weeks, Dodson is alleging horrific conditions at the Cheshire County Jail. This is what Sam wrote on April 26th. Quote, "I was awoken suddenly by the other prisoners shouting, 'Sam, Sam, the protesters are back.' Let me tell you, the protest kicked off a literal shitstorm. They kicked everyone out of the other tier because the protesters are visible from the windows. The side I've been caged in has a view of a brick wall, the sky, and a bird. So they locked down one side of the tier, forcing half of the prisoners into the day room. It's a warm day, and the air conditioner barely works. In the middle of all this, the toilet in the day room starts overflowing again. By overflowing, I mean water, toilet paper, and human fecal matter beginning to spill onto the day room floor. This has been happening regularly over the past few weeks. The prisoners had had enough. They began banging on the door and windows to get the guards' attention. The guards come rushing in thinking there's a fight or someone is hurt. Ms. Poilou is visibly upset and responds by searching the cages on the side facing the protesters. Meanwhile, in the day room, Mr. Anderson, another guard, is getting an earful from prisoners who dealt with this very same problem 2 days in a row last week. His response? "It's just shit. Deal with it." The prisoners explained that this is a common occurrence and happens every time the toilet in the day room next door is flushed. They asked why the water was turned back on, why no sign was posted, and why a trash bag wasn't covering the other toilet. The guards had no answers. 5 days earlier, when I was allowed to use the law library computer in one day room next door for the first time, there was raw sewage on the floor, and the smell was overpowering. Eventually, the officer in charge, Mr. Lapointe, he did his best to stick his head in the door and quickly move on. However, the prisoners were fed up with this routine, and Mr. Lapointe was kept engaged in a discussion. The TV was turned down, and the prisoners asked why, after 3 weeks, the problem hasn't been fixed. Lapointe replied, "Toilets back up on the outside." "Yeah, but you're not forced to live there, and you can get it fixed." "We can't do that. This is where we live," a prisoner replied. "Shouldn't we have a basic right to sanitary conditions?" Lapointe replied, "You're inmates. You don't have rights." Unquote. Sam also quotes Lapointe as saying the windows are there to let light in, not for inmates to look out. He also reports that inmates were having difficulty getting to restrooms. So apparently even their right to urinate was being limited. I've made 2 calls to the jail superintendent trying to get answers regarding these types of concerns. Neither have been returned. However, he did send me a letter back in late February, which I apparently misplaced, and have just now had a chance to read. I will try to read it to you guys as soon as I get a chance, although of course it doesn't directly address Sam's concern, because Sam was not in jail at that time. One constructive idea I have for folks who are near Westmoreland at the jail: you might want to try contacting the superintendent and requesting permission to enter the feces-covered day room with a camera. If you see the video description for this clip, I'll try to include Superintendent Van Wickler's contact information.
This program is brought to you by freekeen.com. Freekeen.com features audio, video, and blogs chronicling the transition to a voluntary society. Freekeen.com also has comments and discussion forums so you can be heard. Freekeen.com.